Hi.
Oh my god!
There's a lot going on right now. There's a lot here.
Welcome to the very special edition, the 5th episode of After the Beep.
Welcome. As you can see, we are a little different.
Decked out.
There's
All
a
my
lot.
dreams have come true in this very moment.
In other words, welcome to the book episode.
This is the book episode.
First off.
Oh, shoot.
We never cheers.
Rookie mistake.
Cheers.
Episode 5, Anna.
I know. There's green tea in this today, and I don't normally have green tea, and it's really, really good. So thanks for
it. You are welcome.
Well, we got a lot to do.
One thing about me and Anna is that we love books.
That
we love
is true.
them.
We've talked about it on other episodes, how we've been anxiously. I think this was the episode we planned first.
Yes, this is the epitome of After the Beep.
Yeah,
this
is
us.
This is the episode we have been waiting for.
Yeah.
You might have been waiting for every episode to come out. This is the one. This is the one. I mean, not that we haven't, put our hard work and everything else into the other ones.
But you can clearly tell where our heart is.
You can tell where our loyalties lie. So much so that I want to say, at the very beginning when we were planning, I think, we were on the fence of having, a whole book-related podcast,
yes.
Just books. But
it was,
I'm glad we decided to not go that way. But that being said...
My dream is to create, a online book club with a community.
Oh, real.
I would love that.
Yeah.
That
being said, I'm glad we went the way we did because, well, it just makes this episode that much more special. Because
it does.
It does.
It's very special.
We have a lot to do.
This might be our longest episode yet, so get a snack. Strap in, get cozy.
As in the words of Brittany Broski, take your hands off the wheel.
You're going to be here for a while.
Get a snack. Get your loved ones if you need them,
for support.
Get a blanket. Get some tea, hot cocoa, coffee. I don't know what your prerogative is. But strap in. Lock in and strap in.
It's about to begin. One thing I want to say. So, Anna and I love reading. We love books. Today we are probably more specifically diving into our love of fantasy and fiction books.
If you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
If anything wasn't obvious, we read fantasy.
I have to say, I've never allowed myself to experience this dream of mine of dressing up and feeling like a fairy and almost Renaissance fairy-esque, but I think it's more meaningful because we have specific pieces that tie to the things that we like to
love
read.
And
but I have never felt more like myself my whole life.
Yeah.
I put my elf ears on
and I'm a whole other being. I just ascend.
I have I'm my soul has left my body. Yeah. This isn't Tralee and Anna anymore.
This is who I was meant to be.
Yes. Please.
Somebody get me a dagger strapped to my thigh and we are ready
I'm looking
to
for
go.
My bow and arrow, and I'm looking for my 1,000-year-old love of my life.
Yeah. Real.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Also, this episode might have spoilers of some classic, really popular books.
Fantasy books. I'll put all the timestamps for it in the description, so if you haven't read those, you can skip through it. And there'll be warnings. We'll yap about that.
We are going to try our super hardest not to spoil anything that way. Everyone is able to enjoy.
Yeah.
Listening. Today.
Because it sucks getting things spoiled for you.
It does.
Ugh.
Oh, don't even start.
Okay.
I read Divergent, and I love Divergent, and it's in my top series because that book meant so much to me when I was a teenager, and I searched fan art and I read it, and it destroyed my life.
Always happens with fan art for me.
Yes,
always. It's never something somebody posts. It's never it's never a post or somebody's talking about it even in person. It's always me
fan
going
art.
to look up fan
That's
art.
why when I
Always.
started a series that Anna loves and I started reading it, I texted her. I was like, I need you to send me all the characters. I need you, like, I refuse to look up what these characters, like, look like. Because, like, obviously, like, there's imagery and writing and stuff like that that, like, you know what the characters look like. But there's always, like, that
always,
validation
yeah.
that's, like, super nice
It
seeing
really
fan
is,
art.
like, validation, because I feel like, for me, like, I always build a character in my head, but, like, based off the description, obviously, but, like, it's nice to just have that be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm right, kind of, like.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you want to jump right in?
I'd love to jump right in.
Okay, let's jump right in. We have our little notebooks today for our things. This is my everything notebook.
This episode is just gonna be me posing.
She is so thrilled to do this, and I am, like, so happy
The
for
amount
you.
of, like, behind the scenes situations
Planning
we are doing
and-
because of this, because of the way we're dressed is, like, insane. Like, please follow our Instagram
because there's
we are going to be
so
annoying.
much going on here. All right. So do we want to start with our top series?
Yes.
Okay, we each did 3. So are yours in order or? Because mine are, but
I think that I see them kind of on an equal level because there's different reasons why I like them.
oh, so real. Okay.
But I guess they're in order.
Maybe. Okay.
I'm too scared to, like, confirm, like, I don't know.
Confirm or deny a numbered list.
Feelings, and I feel like once I, like, rank something, like, is my top
Yeah.
favorite, I, like, can't take it back. So I try not.
That's
to.
fair. That's fair. I feel like my top is always, like, my top whatever, like, series, like, song, whatever, is always changing. So, like, for me, it's hard to pick that. So, yeah. Anyways, just name one of yours. It can be
Okay.
number 3. It doesn't have to.
Well, I also have another thing to say.
Oh, say another thing.
Welcome to the podcast. I also have another thing to say. Welcome to Yap Nation. I think that I like books. Like, I think I really tie certain books into, like, certain periods of my life, and that's why they, like, mean so much to me. So, like, each phase of my life, like, I feel like, well, right now I'm not reading because of school. I literally cannot because I need to be able to, like, fully emotionally invest myself into what I'm reading, and, like, I can't afford to do that.
No,
right now,
yeah.
like, at all.
It's so hard because for me, recently I found, like, I like fluffy little romance books, which I didn't like for a very long time, but it is, like, the only thing I can read during school because they're quick, they're easy, they're not, like, for me, they're not really emotionally investing, so I feel like I can read them. But that being said, like, I haven't really read a fantasy book in a while.
I have, like,
Or at least since we came back to school for the
after,
spring
like,
semester.
graduation, I have, like, projects for myself of, like, this series, like, I need to. And I've been waiting for years.
I was like that in, like, high school. Like,
That makes sense.
I used to, like, plan my TBRs. It was too much.
I find that I am, like, a super emotional reader, so, like, if I might have the time to read, but if I'm not, like, in that emotional headspace, I just can't do it. Like, even, like, genre and, like, planning out, like, what things are on my, like, TBR and stuff, like, I just, like, can't plan it because it just depends.
I never stuck to it, I'll say that. Like, I never really stuck to it. It was more of, like, an idea than anything.
Yeah.
Not really, like, a proper.
But yeah, I just feel like I'm a super emotional reader, and it really depends on the kind of headspace I'm like in. But my point in this was that I feel like each of these books really represent a time where, like, I, like, picked up reading again, and these were the books that, like, got me back into the world of reading.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I read for a whole different reason. I read for an emotional, not physical, but emotional escape.
Yeah, that was definitely me when I was a kid. Like, with, like, a kid with, like, a lot of anxiety, like, that was my go-to coping mechanism was reading, especially, like, at nighttime.
Yeah.
Like, that was a really big deal for me.
I, like, don't. It's weird now because I don't feel that as much. Like, I don't feel like I need to read fantasy because I
good.
need to escape. It's good, isn't it? It's good in hindsight, right? But,
Yeah.
like, it also is, like, how do I read fantasy without that feeling? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Because it's way different to fall into something. I'm not falling into something because I feel like I have to be there. I'm falling into something because I want to be there. And that is, like,
That's
it
just like a whole
sounds,
new
yeah,
thing.
it sounds really dumb when you put it that way, but
I
it's
don't
like,
think it does.
it's like weird because that's just like how it is. So I feel like all the books I have on my list, like, are very clearly the times when I felt like I needed to escape, but like, not necessarily because like it was bad in my life, just like that's just how I use reading, I think.
Yeah.
And that, because I really only read fantasy until
It's
very
stimulating.
recently.
It's like scratching that little like itch and like the
Yes.
need for media.
Yes.
You know.
And I like, because I only started reading like things other than fantasy like very recently, um fantasy has just always been like my genre.
Yeah.
So
Me too. Like when I was little, I read a lot of like the like the fairy books that were all like different colors.
yeah.
That was like my go-to situation. I would like
Yeah.
read one of those a night,
I
like
was
if I
like
could.
not a huge reader as a kid.
Really?
Like, I didn't really start, I mean, I'll talk about this when we talk about books, but I didn't really start reading until like middle school.
Wow, I like started
Like,
reading like
reading.
obviously when I in elementary school,
Yeah.
but like I just fell in love with reading, and I think like my mom really like promoted that in my life. And then like to the point where like my punishment as a kid was like my books were being taken away. Like my dad would like burst into my room at like 3 a.m. and I'm like 10 years old and he's like, give me the book, like you're done, like go to bed, you have school. So I definitely like loved it. I think like I just can't wait to like have free time in my life to
Yeah.
like read as much as I used to when I was younger.
Yeah. I like didn't like reading. I don't really know why I didn't like reading. I think I just didn't. I No, I know why I didn't like it, because everything I had to read was like because I had to read it. It was like for school. And like once I found my genre, my niche of books, like that's when I started to love reading. But I remember like my mom used to make me like sit at the like, kitchen table as a kid, like read like Junie B. Jones to her because I needed to like get better at reading.
I love Junie B. Jones.
I learned to like love that stuff, and
One of my
do
like
now,
core
but
memories is like laying in bed with my mom and she was reading me Junie B. Jones and she was like, "One day you're gonna be able to read these to me." And I don't know why, but I like never
my
forgotten
mom
that.
made me read them.
And
to her.
now like as a writer,
Mhm.
it's kind of crazy because like I oftentimes like read my mom to like my own work to my mom. So like it's kind of like crazy.
That's cute.
Like it's like emotional.
But
let me get to my list.
yeah, get your list.
So my first book, speaking of books that we had to read in school, I had like a really cool English teacher in like 7th grade and we read The Princess Bride, and it's just like one of those books that like you just like love. Like I feel like for me it's like a classic, and like the writing style of it is like so different, and it's like comedic and it's satire, but then it's like so romantic and then so dramatic and there's fight, like it's kind of like the perfect like book all intertwined into one. And the movie, like the adaptation for the movie is like so good, like best that I've seen in far as adaptations. But yeah, that book is just like super special to me, and I like fell in love with like the romance in the book, and now like my like that lore of that book is like in part of like my relationship now, like the romance, like it's just like I don't know, I think it's so good, it's so special, and it's funny.
I'm glad you love it.
Thank you.
I guess I'll go with my number 3 because mine are ranked. I think I can rank mine. I think I can. It's Throne of Glass by Miss Sarah J. Maas.
The one and only.
The one and only. I have the collector's edition back there. I just love Throne of Glass. If you haven't read anything by Sarah J. Maas, read
What
Throne
are you doing?
of Glass. A, what are you doing? B, read Throne of Glass. I think I will say, people are really intimidated by Throne of Glass. It's 8 books. There's several different ways you can read it and orders, and you can read 2 of the books at the same time, which is what I did, and I recommend that because it just like makes your reading experience so much better. But it's just everything about it, I think, um like arguably it is her strongest work.
Mm.
But everything about it is just so, like, the world building is just so thought out and planned, and it's very beautiful, and the not only that, but you really get to like love the characters.
Yeah.
This is so hard for me to talk about because I can't talk about books like eloquently, without being like, it made me giggle. Like, I don't know.
Made me cry, made me laugh.
Yeah, like literally that. It's just so, like everything about it is just so incredible.
Like, I was like, I'm gonna like say this so many times in this episode. I'm already annoyed
as
with
a
myself.
writer.
As a writer, like a girl can only dream to be her, to be Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like who she is as an
just
author.
become like an icon. Like,
Yeah.
she is, the best way I can put it is she's like the Taylor Swift of like the fantasy genre, in terms of like Easter eggs and like the way everything is just tied together. Whether or not you think it's, there are so many arguments, like I do not want to get into it, but there are so many arguments like people don't like the way she's writing or like whatever. I don't know. I'll say this. I don't really read for like writing. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not paying attention to like the words and like how they're laid out. If that makes sense. Like, in my head, like, I never see words on a page when I read.
Yeah.
Ever. I never see
think,
words on a page.
Like, for me, I don't pick books like that I think I would do that, but it kind of like happens naturally.
Yeah.
Like, I'll find things I'm like, oh, that was like a beautiful line.
No, I don't see that unless it's like pointed out to me.
Yeah.
And trust me, English teachers have tried. It's just not, it's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. My brain is just not built that way. I see the visual and I see like the scene in my head and the way the storyline works. And I can appreciate like how planned it is and like certain plot points, like, oh, if that was there it would make sense. Like, I can understand that, but in terms of like the way people talk about like diction or like I don't know. Like, I don't know and I don't care. If it makes me laugh and giggle, it's getting 5 stars. But I love Throne of Glass, and I just there's just so, it's so fun. And my friend Liz right now is reading it, and she's like, it's so nice to have it's so nice to have people who are like reading your favorite books. But not only that, like, I love being able to like walk someone through a series or like help them, even though she's kind of jumping the gun, but it's okay. I'm glad. It's like, but I will say Throne of Glass it is heavy. Not heavy like content wise necessarily, but it's 8 books.
It's a lot to get through.
It's a lot to get through. It's a lot to like keep in mind. It's just a lot, but if you can devote, the time to it and you want to, it's beautiful. Get into it. It's such a great series, and it's finished. So you can say like, oh, like this is done, whereas like Sarah's other 2 series like aren't finished. So it is a commitment once you get into it.
I think so. Throne of Glass is definitely like my. Well, first I have to finish Akatar, but then after that, Throne of Glass is
your next mission,
my project. Yeah. My next book, my next series, Shadow and Bone. so
the angel effect.
So Shadow and Bone, like, as a series, it's like 3. It's a trilogy, so it's like Shadow. It's right here. It's these 3, and then there's 2 duologies. As a whole,
beautiful.
Incredible.
Beautiful. You don't know who Leigh Bardugo is. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Same thing. Like, come on, get it together, lady.
Get it together.
Yeah, I love Leigh so much, and I think her like writing and her thoughtfulness to like her character dynamics are like some of my favorite like character dynamics I've ever read. And just like so like the first 3 are about certain characters, and then the 2 are about different characters in the same universe, and then the second 2 are different characters but from the same universe, but then they're all together.
connected.
And I like that's like so
when
incredible
authors
to
do
be
that to
able
me,
to be like so thought out of that. I could never.
when authors make their own little MCU,
Mm-hmm.
it lights my brain up like no other. Like, I don't know what area of my brain, but like if you scan my brain, like it would light up like a Christmas tree. Like that. Oh, that is like my everything. When authors can do that, oh,
I love it.
it just makes me so happy. And Shadow and Bone,
That was
they're
like
so good.
yeah,
Like they're so good.
So at the time my best friends from home were reading Shadow and Bone, and we like flew through them so quick, but we ended up this is like something that is like one of the biggest joys of my life, and like if I didn't have it, I don't know what I would do. But typically my cousin Sydney and I, usually sometimes my cousin Elena, we will have Barnes and Noble dates where and we like
Those are the best.
we all live like pretty far away, so we
Mhm.
pick one in the middle and we
Yeah.
drive to that one, and we will like chit chat, like catch
Yeah.
up, and then we're there until it's closed.
Yeah.
And we just sit and we read together, and like when we were reading the same books together, like that was incredible, but even just like sitting and like not reading the same books, like that is something that I will always treasure like for
Mhm.
the rest of my life, and just having that like bond and like going through that. So like these books are really special to me because like we read the ending of the whole series together, and we were like finding things out together, and
special.
like it was just like really really amazing.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, this was just like another series that like jump started like me back into reading for the first time in like a really long time. Like it was right after the pandemic ended, I think.
Probably. It probably would have been like right in the middle
because it was the
because
summer
of the
before
show.
I transferred here.
Yeah.
So it was a year, like 2 years after, I think, or a year after the
If you
pandemic.
didn't know, Shadow and Bone has also been adapted.
Yes.
That series has now
I don't want to talk about it.
been canceled.
I don't want to talk about it, not because it was canceled, but
I
because
don't want to talk about it because it has been canceled.
I
But
just
I'll
like
talk about it anyways.
I think that I am very much a person who, if it's not the same, I don't want to be a part of it. And I just get like so frustrated when like plot lines are different, or characters are different, and there's like different relationships, and like the way that it was adapted like makes no sense to the plot of like the story, and it made me so upset that I couldn't. And like I loved the casting. Like it was incredible.
The casting
it like
is
soothed
like
the part of my soul, honestly.
perfect, and that for me is what made the canceling so devastating, along with several other things.
Yeah.
I think for me, like, when I found out it had been canceled, I like bawled immediately. Like as soon as I opened Instagram, I immediately started bawling because when that show was like coming out, I was like picking where I wanted to go to college and like picking what I wanted to do for a living. And like when that came out, and like once I started like getting into more like movies and like video and that kind of thing, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to make this. And then they were like, actually, you're done. I was like, oh, okay, guys. Like, great.
I think the adaptation is beautiful. But the only thing that I don't like about it is that it's just a different story. Everything else, it's perfection.
Yeah. For me, like, I could get past that because, like, in my head, like, I knew where they were going. Like I kind of knew they were where they were headed the whole time. So like I felt like I was on the same track as them, and I think a lot of people weren't, and that's why a lot of people didn't like it. I am like
very much like either I'm reading the book or I'm watching the movie, and I can't do both.
Like I can do both.
I can't. I just get so upset.
No. Well, this can bring me to my next book.
Wait, let me finish.
Okay.
I have one
other
more thing. The very last book in the series, Rule of Wolves. Lee took this character, her name is Zoya. This is a spoiler. It's not not a huge spoiler.
It's not a huge spoiler, but like if you're like really in depth to this,
it's like I don't want to know anything.
I don't want to know a thing about Shadow and Bone.
This has nothing to do with plot.
No.
But this character Zoya, who like is a horrible person in the beginning of the book, I hated her guts. She kind of like in her last 2 series makes her like a main character.
Yeah.
And she like goes through this like beautiful journey of grief, and at the time like that's something that I was really struggling with, and something that I still really struggle with in my life, and like having anxiety and OCD, like grief is not fun for me. And something that I really worry about all the time. So seeing that character kind of like process grief in such a beautiful way, like gave me courage to like do the same
Do
thing
it.
and like, oh, I love
It's
her so much.
so she's incredible and I
Mhm.
love her a lot. Um oh, what was I gonna this was my segue. I can separate a movie from a book, which
Mhm.
brings me to my next point of the next book on my list, number 2, is Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson is number 2 on my list because that is the book that got me into reading. That was like it
Wow.
was assigned to us in 6th grade, and my mom read it. She worked at the school, so
Mhm.
she knew my teachers, like she
Mhm.
knew. So she read it like before like I even knew it was going to be assigned, and she was like, "No, you're gonna love this," and I was like, "I don't like to read," and she's like, "No, you're gonna like this book." So she was like, "Just start it, like just wait, like it'll be good." I was like, "Okay, fine." So I started it and I was like, "Oh no." Like, uh-oh. Like I loved it and I like flew through it and I read the rest of the series and like just everything. I didn't read like Heroes of Olympus and The Trials of Apollo and a lot of that cuz it wasn't like entirely out at the time, but
Yeah, when I started the book, that
it
did
was
not
not exist.
exist.
But um that whole series, everything that Rick Riordan has pretty much ever written, I have read.
Yeah.
And all of his books just mean a lot to me and that like Percy just got me into reading and I used to reread them like every summer. Like every other summer and like last summer was the first time I've skipped a summer. But um I love those so much and they just like opened my eyes to reading and I'll forever be grateful for that.
Yeah.
I just love them.
For me, Percy Jackson, like, it was such, like, because, like, the books were coming out when I was in elementary school.
Mhm.
That aged me hard. Um, but I was searching through my, like, old books from when I was a kid, over winter break, and I was like, I really wanted to read the series again, like, as an adult.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't I have these books? Like, why do I only have one? Like, where are they? And I realized that my class was so into them that like we just like passed around. I don't know if it was like one person or like all of us like had
Mhm.
one and we like switched like I only had one copy of the first book
Oh,
because
really?
I like we all just like switched and mixed and matched and like I don't have them. So for Christmas my mom gifted me
That's
the
good.
box set
The
so I
box
have
set,
them.
yeah.
But Percy Jackson for me like was my world when I was younger and
Yeah.
my childhood best friend, her and I like created this world from Percy Jackson, and like we were in
Mhm.
elementary school, and we were characters, and we had
Oh, yeah,
family
real.
trees, and we
Oh,
had
yeah.
plot that like we would pick up on the plot every
Oh,
play
yeah.
date we would have like oh where did we leave off like oh okay we know
Yeah.
where to go like
That's what girls do every night before they go to bed,
yes but
actually.
like it was like real life when we were kids and it was like so meaningful as a child for us to like bond over this and like
Yeah.
how in depth we went like only makes sense
Yeah.
like
No,
I
yeah.
am where I am.
I know exactly what you mean. Like that I think it just like it opened up not only like reading for me, but like
Mhm.
the possibility of like this is what reading could be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't hate to read, but I didn't love to read.
Oh, I don't know. I just always loved it for some reason.
I don't know.
Like
I don't know what was wrong with me because I love it now. But um, Percy Jackson, it just means a lot. It's so special to me.
yeah,
It's so special.
it's good.
What's
I
your?
was like a Greek mythology girl.
Oh yeah.
Like you know those like big fancy books that like
Mhm.
the one that's like really popular is like the wizard one that has like the stone in the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had the one for Greek mythology and like it had like little like things that you would take out of and
Mhm.
put in and it like talked about all the Greek gods. Like I was a Greek
Yeah.
mythology girl.
Like the Percy Jackson series is the reason I like still read like Greek retellings.
Yeah.
Like now.
Yeah.
I just
10
love
out of
them.
10. All right. My last book, and I know, spoiler, is also your top one.
Yeah, my number
The
one
last
book.
series is ACOTAR. So
Yeah, A
the
Court of
Thorns
Thorns and
and Roses.
Roses by Miss Sarah
Sarah
J.
J. Maas.
Maas. Um, I can yap about this series
I know you can.
forever, ever.
So
It,
I haven't. I started the series. Well, one, it's like super popular online right now, but I also started reading it because Anna was in love with it. And I have not finished reading the book because I
we
really
got back to
first
school.
we
I
got back to
think.
school and I hate endings. and I hate, like, I know the series isn't finished yet,
Mhm.
but for some reason I just can't
Yeah,
fit,
that's
like,
fair.
I
That's fair.
hate
That's
an
fair.
ending. So yeah, but I read everything else.
You have read everything else. I guess like just a forewarning, like before we start like talking about this, like spoilers. Like I don't know if it's going to happen, but like just in case, like just in case.
Well, if there's a spoiler, because you can keep watching, if there's a spoiler, we'll like pause and put like a little guide.
I'll put something there so
Yeah.
you know. Um, Akatar. It's just there like everything about it to me. I know people don't like some things that happen in the books, but I don't care. Everything about it is like perfect to me. Like to
Mhm.
me, like this is fantasy. Like this is
Oh
what
my
I've
gosh, yeah.
wanted. Like you know, like you read it and you're like, everybody starts it and I was like, oh, like what are people raving about? And then like you read it
See,
and you're
like,
like,
I knew,
you just know.
like, before jumping in, I was like, I know this is a masterpiece. I know that my life is about to
Oh
be changed.
yeah, like you start it and then it changes your entire like
Yep.
like I can't even say that lightly. Like that series has changed my entire life.
Yeah, it really has.
And oh my god, I was still am, but I was like so much worse. Like I was so annoying, so annoying, consumed my every being. Like that's all I thought
think
about.
I remember like reading that book. Read it last winter.
Mhm.
Then I remember like texting the e-board before we came back from break, and I was like, guys, I read a new book series, and my whole personality is different now. So be prepared for the
I
sweet
do
return.
remember that. It just like changes your whole being and like everything.
Her characters are so dynamic, and something that like I really respect is like her motives behind her characters. Like nobody is doing something just to do it. Like there's
Yeah.
always such like an emotional like
Drive.
yeah, like it's just like so good, and like the way that like her characters interact and how different they are from each other like is so real
Yeah.
that like reading it is like, oh, I'm friends with them. Like that's how it feels.
It's just so like eye opening, I guess. Like I don't even know like the way to put it. It just takes like it takes what I had been reading for so long like to a whole nother
Yeah.
level. And I like people say this, but it's true. Like once you read Akatar, you spend like I will spend the rest of my life trying to replicate that feeling. And like you get it with Throne of Glass, you get it with Crescent City,
Yeah.
but like I can't like for the life of me, I like
You can't find your match
find like the match yet. I will say honorable mention, Fourth Wing has gotten very very close,
I
but
haven't read it yet. That's on
it's very good.
my
It's very
to-do
good.
list.
It's very
for
good.
graduation.
I love Fourth Wing, but Akatar I think just like for me I think what I really love about it is the world. I would say like
Yeah,
the
her
whole world
world
building
building.
is just so incredible. I mean the characters are just like
If you read it,
oh
you literally understand me and Anna's outfits right now.
like you get it.
And
You
here,
get it.
This is okay. This is my spoiler.
Yeah.
But
Spoiler guys, sorry.
listen,
It's gonna happen.
I know we don't love the spring court, but I can't deny that the spring court is in my blood. I can't deny
you really
that
can't.
I'm a spring court girly. And you know what? I can fix it. I would kill
I know.
Tamlin. I would take over. I'd be High Lady all by myself. I wouldn't need a guy to tell me to be High Lady. I would be High Lady of the Spring Court, and I would
Yeah.
change everything.
I know you would. I
It would
trust
be
that
great.
about you. Like I feel like this episode is like the perfect like divide of like our
Who we are.
aesthetics.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny. Like this is like really showing it. But I just like oh, and if you okay, she hasn't read. I will say this: she hasn't read A Court of Silver Flames.
No.
And if you haven't read that, and oh, people won't read it for like stupid reasons.
Oh,
Me off.
really?
Yeah, people won't read it because they just like don't like Nesta.
Oh. See,
which I guess I get, but also like
right now I'm like pairing Nesta up with Zoya, so I'm like I know that
that's a good
like,
analogy.
Goodness like is about to come.
I think her story just resonates.
Well,
in
is
every
Nesta,
single aspect. What do you mean?
is she the oldest sister?
Yes.
So in my mind, Feyre is the oldest No, in my mind, Elaine is the oldest,
Mm.
Feyre is the middle, and Ness is the youngest.
Nope.
I don't know why. I don't know
Nope.
if Sarah J.
Why
Maas
not?
is an only child, but if she is, it makes sense because that is how I see them. So, like,
Nope.
for me as an oldest child, I hate to say this, I resonate with Elaine. I resonate with Feyre more than Elaine, but like as an older sister, I think that's where like my dislike for Nesta comes from because I like don't get it.
Yeah.
But I think that will change
It
for
just
me.
she's so like everything she goes through I think is just so like real.
Mhm.
Like it's fantasy, but like everything she goes through is like I've felt that way. Like
Yeah.
you've never like really seen it before, and I think for me, oh, that's the timer for the cameras. For me, I think Nessa's story just felt like the closest to home, but like I think I've gotten better, and I'm reaching like Feyre status.
Oh, no, I think that's gonna make me sad when I read it.
I think it's just like
Do
it's
you
like
think I was Nesta ever?
no, not
Do you
when
think?
I know you. No,
Hmm.
if it's been you in your life, I don't like I like wouldn't have
You wouldn't
known
know
it.
about it yet.
Yeah. And I think like I struggle with it all the time. I'm like no, like I you just like have those days, and I'm like oh today like feels like a nest today, and it's like it's weird like that's how I categorize it like in my head, but it's like true. Um, if you know, you know. Like really, it's really just like if you know, you know. But everything about her is just like, and for me, it's very much also like Cassian has some great. It's also his book too, not just Nessa's, and he is just like he is my favorite, and he is just. If there's one thing about me, I love a war general.
Do you think I'm ever gonna get like an Israel book?
Yes.
Please, for the love of God, that's my man.
Yes, absolutely, I do. I don't know if you're gonna like it.
Why? No.
I don't know. I just feel like no, you'll like it. Cassian is just my favorite. I love a war general. I don't know why that in fantasy books is my type.
Me and Anna's different. Anna's like a war general girl. I am a
I don't know why. It's
prince.
Yeah.
Not like a king, guy, but
like more the royal figure for you.
Or like yeah, no. I'm a royal girl.
Yeah. Which is weird cuz like that's not how my type is in real life. At all.
That is my type in real life. I'm
but like yeah, do you know like I'm not really like it's not that but like for books like
we all know like we didn't feel like we had to say this but like the rules in fantasy are so different.
They don't apply. The rules in fantasy are not different. They're not only are they fictional, but these are like different beings. They're not humans. And I think that's where people get really
turned away,
but also like they like judgy and like weird about certain things that authors write. And I think like you have to remember like they don't have the same morals, they don't operate the same as human beings. And authors like there are certain authors who make that clear again and again, and there are certain authors that don't. So I definitely think it just like depends
on who you're reading.
Cassian has a lot of quotes and a lot of I don't know, soliloquies in this book that really hit close to home, I think. And for me, like that book I think is what pushes A Court of Thorns and Roses to the very top spot. With that being said, like the whole series is just like a masterpiece.
So
if you haven't, and it's still not even done. That's what kills me is like it's not done. But if you haven't read it, please consider it or read it or like
I just lent my copies to my cousin Cindy.
Really?
I'm
one of my friends, Amber, I annotated a copy for her, and then I'm also gonna annotate a copy for Bethany. I've been saying that for like a year, but I couldn't do them back to back, or else they wouldn't have been like the same, you know. So
Anna and I love an annotation. We love a tab.
Mm-hmm.
I am a highlighter. I am a tab. I really like underliner. To do. Yes, I do. I sometimes will underline and highlight.
Oh yeah,
I also
depends on
love like a sticky note.
Sticky notes for me are like
This is-
textbooks.
This is my example of my sticky
Oh
notes.
God.
Let me find one. Unless there's none in here. Why isn't this? Oh my gosh! Because this is my new version of it.
Oh.
So this isn't even annotated out.
Mm.
Dang it!
That's how my A Court of Silver Flames is down there.
This is what made me
Sorry.
upset. Lee released Rule of Wolves in a hardcover only, and like basically like a collector's edition like quality of Rule of Wolves, like as
I
her
have that
first
one.
edition. I do too. Oh, here's some. So then I was upset, and then they released a paperback, and I wanted them all to match, so that like my
fair.
collector's editions look the same, and like my
I have Shadow and Bone through Crooked Kingdom all in paperback, but I also have the Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom collector's editions because I'm crazy.
Shadow and Bone, and so these ones are mine. I have Shadow and Bone collector edition.
Oh,
and
I do have that
Six
one.
of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and technically Rule of Wolves.
Anything that she has that's collector's edition, I have.
Yeah. This says, oh, this is a huge spoiler. But one of them, I'll cover this. It says, "I am sobbing."
Oh, I bet I know what that is too.
Yeah,
I bet I know what
reading this one.
Yeah.
I'm also really good, and this makes Anna so angry because I just have this gift. Where I like just know what's gonna happen, and I know like details. And like when I was reading like ACOTAR for like, and I was like keeping Anna updated, I'd be like, I know this is about to happen. She's like, how dare you know?
How did you just like see? Like
I don't know. What
that's like
is.
definitely like the writer side in you. I think
so.
Because like my friends who are like Englishy people, that's the term I'm gonna use. Like can pick up on that kind of thing.
My tip for
Black
that,
ant.
if anyone wants to have the skits as me too, writers don't write things for nothing. You know, like little details don't go nowhere. Like pages count. Pages are money. Like they don't write.
I see what you mean.
Especially like, this is my theory for Shadow and Bone. Lee has such a specific way of ending her books, like whether it's in the middle of the series, whether it's the first book in the series, like whether it's the last book, like they all end such a specific way, except Crooked Kingdom, and it's the only book of hers that ends in like a weird, like what's gonna happen. So I'm on to you, girl. Lee Bardugo, if you're watching this,
I'm on to you.
Anyway, I don't even know what we're talking about.
I think it's just like I'm so not like that. Like I'm so in like reading is the only time I am like present. Like you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the only time I am like in
it is like one of the only like I think I really struggle with like feeling conscious day to day.
Yeah.
Like
no real.
Like present, like conscious.
Yeah.
And when I am reading, I feel like I am the most me. Like I am the most myself. Like especially like when I'm bonding over it with like other people in my life, like
when people come up to me in a Barnes and Noble and ask me if I work there.
That's never happened to me.
It happens to me every time I go to Barnes and
compliments
Noble.
of like my book tote bags.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's good.
And like if I'm carrying like
that's
a certain
also
book.
like if somebody like compliments something about a book I'm reading or like a sticker I have or something, I'm like, oh.
We are the same.
We are one. That's like what goes through my head. But I love fantasy and I love maps.
I love a good map.
Please put maps in your books if you are writing fantasy. Please,
I love a good map.
Please give me a map. Please.
They're so good.
They're so nice.
One thing I also love, so like you mentioned, lending out your books.
Mm.
I never borrow books from other people because I am an annotator, so like I like having my own copies because like I never know.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. But I love when my friends borrow my books from me. And something that I make them do is when they borrow them, I make them write their name and the date. And not like as a way to be like give this back, but I love like being able to go back and be like, oh
look
my gosh,
who borrowed
remember
it.
when like Elena like borrowed this from me and she read it, like I love it so much. It's like so special.
My friends like well, there was one series that like made its way around my
Mhm.
friend group in like middle school. But my friends up until like very recently didn't really read the same like
Mhm.
genres as I did, or like they just weren't like reading as much.
Yeah.
So, which is like totally fine, nothing wrong with that. But like we weren't really like sharing books or anything, and also like now that we're in school, it's kind of just harder. But where was I going with this? Now, oh, there it is. Now we've like they've started to like come to my side. I feel like I'm like bringing them
Welcome
to
to
the
the dark
welcome to the dark side. Like that's how
side.
I feel. Um, but all like my friends were all like very like, if I'm reading a book and I don't have the second one and I finish the first one like in my grasp, I will lose my mind. Like I will
That's like
lose
where
my mind.
I love collecting books that I haven't read yet. So like
Yeah.
I have Crescent City. I haven't even finished ACOTAR yet, but I have Crescent City.
Yeah.
And I also have both Shadow Iron
No, Fourth Wing.
I read it, so I said it out loud.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
have both Fourth Wing books.
They are out of order, so that's probably why.
Yeah. I have like a special edition of Iron
Yeah, you
Flame.
do. You have, like, the
I
Christmas edition
haven't
or whatever.
read them,
Like,
but I have them. They're in my
so
apartment.
most of the time when like my friends are reading a book or something, they'll go and buy it or get
Mhm.
it some other way. So we don't really like borrow books from each other a
Mhm.
lot. But that being like, I'm also very like protective of my books.
Yes.
Um, I have a
just
stamp.
love like, oh, I want a stamp so bad.
I have a stamp and I have an embosser.
That's been like on my wish list of like, please someone get me this as a gift for so long. I don't know why
One
I
of
just
mine was
can't
a
buy
gift,
it.
and one of them I bought the stamp I bought myself. I think I like the stamp better
I was
because the
gonna say,
embosser like
it's both
rips the
sides.
pages a little,
Oh, I was gonna
depending
say
on
like
like how thick the paper is.
if it's in the beginning, you never know if there's something on the other side of the page you want to do it on.
Yeah.
So
The worst part is like sometimes books don't have that extra title page.
yeah, and they just
So I never know where to stamp. I'm like, where do I put it? But I will say it's so fun. It's so
Yeah.
fun like going through all your books and like stamping them. Sometimes I won't do a certain one if I'm like, oh, I'll probably get rid of this, or like, oh, I'll probably.
Have you seen the thing where you scan the barcode and you have
Yes,
your own
it's
library?
like little.
That is my dream.
Yeah.
That is my dream. I love like a good bookshelf. I
Mhm.
love a good decorated book like
Oh.
this.
Yeah.
Love. My one at home, love. Like
My ones at home, I have spent so much time, not only time, but also money,
yes.
on my bookshelves, and those are like my prized possession. Like I'm not gonna tell you how much those dust jackets cost, or how long I waited for those, or how many pre-orders I had to sit through to get those.
The second I have money, I'm in trouble.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm in trouble.
Well, that's the thing. Like all the money, because I worked all through high school. All the money I made, where'd it go?
There. Yeah.
Right there. I like used to get this bookish like box. Like I used to get
Oh my
like
gosh,
subscriptions.
I love those.
I used to get like Also, if you don't have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, I highly recommend it.
I don't even have a Kindle.
Well,
I think I just
you do need it. That's a factor. You might want a Kindle.
Yeah.
I have one, and it has changed my life.
I think I just enjoy reading physical books.
I do.
I have been seeing on Instagram the people who have the stand and the little
in the
Bluetooth
bed,
button
and like you
that
just,
you
like,
can just like, it literally just like is there and you just like click the pages to turn.
Yeah,
I would be unstoppable.
That's a game changer. I don't have one, but I kind of want one. For me, it's really hard for me to read fantasy books on my Kindle.
Yeah, I don't think I'd enjoy
don't.
it.
It's like not. It's like, where'd my map go?
Yeah.
Also, nobody talks about this, but because when you're reading a book on your Kindle, God only knows what the name of it is, because you're not seeing the cover when you pick it up every time.
See, I can't.
So there are so many times I'll be reading on my Kindle, somebody will be like, "Oh, what book are you reading?" I'm like,
I
"Actually,
don't know."
not a clue, not a clue what this thing is called." Like,
That's so funny.
I never remember, but it is nice because sometimes I don't feel like carrying around like a heavy
I know. I think
hardback.
like,
That's
maybe
the only reason I haven't finished, I think, or like read House of Flame and Shadow yet. It's because that thing is like 900 pages.
Huge.
It's heavy.
It is heavy.
And I also read part of the first chapter and immediately started sobbing.
Oh. Okay.
Not even because it was sad, but just because like
You're
the
so
emotional
emotionally invested.
the emotional tie I have to Crescent City and to Sarah J. Maas's writing is like so insane.
I think once I have like a big girl job and like if that involves commuting, I definitely would buy a Kindle.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting
I
for
also
that
love
opportunity to happen.
audiobooks.
I don't hate it. So I live 6 hours away from Fredonia, so like
Yeah.
my drives to back and forth, like I will throw on an audiobook. Also, like my boyfriend Christian, he doesn't like enjoy reading that much, but like I love to like share my books and my
Yeah.
like love of books with him. So we will listen to like audiobooks together
Oh.
and stuff. So like we
fun.
started listening to like Six of Crows together, and like he loves it. I'm like,
I think for me, I can really, not all the time, but for the most part, I really only listen to audiobooks if it's something I'm rereading. Like, I would say I've listened to ACOTAR so much. I spent like a whole summer painting,
wow.
at the greenhouse I used to work at. I like went around and I painted things that needed to be painted. And I used to listen
Oh, I
to
thought
the
you meant
Accord of Thorns and Roses.
like painting.
No, like I was being paid
I was
to
like,
paint.
okay, Sarah.
No,
Cool.
no, babe, can't paint like that. I mean, like I was painting like a wagon kind of painting.
Okay.
I was like painting metal poles. Like no, not an artist. But I like listened to those, and I think for me it really depends on the narration. There was a book I was listening to.
Oh, the
Once.
narration can like make or break.
Oh,
Like
make or
the
break
Six
it.
of Crows free narration. Look, there's one on YouTube. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's the same one on Audible, but
Probably.
it is god awful. Like god awful.
Sometimes it's like just like this. Somebody puts it into like Siri or something, and it's like that voice.
That
I'm like,
one I
whoa.
wouldn't hate that. Like I
I
just
would.
like if it's just like not vibing with the characters who I have in my head, I can't like.
Yeah. I was like I was rereading, listening to, um, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard the other day.
That's on my list.
And the person who narrates it, her name is Stina Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, this woman narrates every single fantasy series ever. She narrated from Blood and Ash.
Mm-hmm.
It's 5 books, if you didn't know. Like, probably more, because it's not finished yet. And she narrates, so they changed the narration from A Court of Frost and Starlight to A Court of Silver Flames. No, it's good.
Oh, okay,
it's
that
good.
makes sense.
But the Stina Nelson, she does A Court of Silver Flames. So when I imagine my shock when I start Red Queen, and I said, "Whoa, Nesta!"
Hey girl,
I
what
literally,
are you doing in this
I
universe?
was like furiously looking up who Stina Nelson was. I had to restart it like 4 times to catch her name because I was like, "What is happening?" I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I was losing
so
my
funny.
marbles. So, yeah, that's how I just love. I think other forms of like reading besides or like getting your books from the library, like I just think it's not as like appreciated as much, and
I don't think so. Like
I think
my
it should be.
my cousin Alina, she's a library girl. Like she
Yeah.
will go to the library.
I want to become one, but I also like to like write in my books.
Yeah.
So like I feel like it's kind of hard.
That's what's stopping me. Plus, I'm very like possessive of things.
Yeah.
So like if I like read something that I'm emotionally attached to, like I want to be able to.
But
like,
I hate the feeling of I read something, I'm not emotionally attached to it, and now I own it.
I don't care.
I care.
I love the collector.
Oh, I like the collector side of
like-
it, but I think it's just like, to me, it's like I spent my money on this. Like this is one I could have gotten at the library, you know?
Yeah, that
And, like,
makes
because
sense.
it is because I've been chasing the feeling of ACOTAR ever since. And that's
that
like
checks out.
Yeah.
That does.
Anyways, we have more top things.
We do. Yeah.
Okay. We have some tropes. Do we want to start with our favorites or the ones we hate?
Oh wait, let's explain what a trope is first.
Oh,
for anyone who doesn't know.
right.
So a trope is like a common or overused theme or device used in like throughout literature. So like a lot of like the tropes that Anna and I are talking to can like tropes aren't like bound to like certain genres. Like certain genres definitely like use certain tropes more often than others. But it's kind of like just like a situation a little bit.
Like a situation, I guess you could call it like the equivalent for like a movie would be like a cliche.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's like I don't like the negative connotation that comes with like cliche. Like tropes, I think they're tools and they're good when you use them right. The outcome is really nice.
And it's really popular on social media to like
yeah,
talk about the tropes that you like and specifically read books
based
based
on
on
those
those tropes.
tropes. Nothing wrong with that. I think like read what you know you like. I feel
Yeah.
like that is like not super explained, but like it takes a while to figure out what you like to read.
Mhm.
Figure out what it is and read the hell out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should talk about the ones that we like.
Okay.
First.
Yeah. We have a lot of the same, but
We do.
differ on a few. So I
Yeah.
guess you start and then I'll
Okay.
bounce on.
I'm gonna start off with found family.
Oh.
Found family is like so important to me. It's one of like my favorite. Like if I'm not reading a book that has found family in it, it's not gonna be in my top favorites. Like there's just something so meaningful
Special.
about like a group of misfits who like might hate each other at first, like who just like become so reliant on each other and so like um family like family
Yeah.
like I think it's so special and like I there's a lot of like psychology like behind the certain tropes that you like.
I don't know if I want to do that.
Which like I'm not about to sit here and out
I've
us for that.
I've never taken a psych class and there's a reason.
But yeah, I just really love found family and it's like super super meaningful to me.
Yeah, I think it's just like so. It's not on my list, but I found family is one of those ones where I love it if it's. I don't need it there, but if
Mhm.
it's there, like I'm so glad it's there.
Yeah.
It's just like so special. It's so
Mhm.
nice. It's like a nice little touch, you know,
Yeah.
when you can like bring a band of people together.
I think I just love love and I love like a sense of like community and a sense of
Yeah.
belonging and like that you matter to other people and like you like your presence is impactful to other people. So like I enjoy reading those kinds of
That's a
things.
good way to put it. I like that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go with a classic.
Okay.
Who Did This to You?
Oh, I love that's on my list too.
Oh, it's just so good. It's so good. It's so if you don't know, let me set the
explain.
scene. Let me set the scene. Okay, this ideally works in fantasy, I would say. If it happens in just regular romance books, I think ideally
That's a little weird if
it can well, it depends.
depends.
You can say that about most things.
Yeah.
I gotta sit up for this one. I think so. Who Did This to You? It's ideally. It doesn't have to be like a female and male character,
Mhm.
but that's the only way I've ever read it, so that's the way I'm gonna explain it. She comes back wherever, I don't know where they're coming back
from the enemies.
from the enemies, and she's wounded. And he didn't go with her. Like I need to preface that. Like he didn't know. She was wounded, and she like it's like very evident. You can see it.
Mhm.
And the first thing he says is, "Who did this to you?"
Yeah.
And then ideally, he
goes
hightails
and
it out of there.
Commits crime.
Whether that's stabbing somebody, beating a kneecap, ripping
Killing.
out an eyeball, torture it. I
Something.
don't know.
Something.
But it's very much like who did. And oh, of course, he leaves after he takes care of her, makes
Yes,
sure
like,
she's
he,
safe
like,
and well, and
he
yeah.
makes sure she's getting
Oh,
through the night.
but that one of my favorite tropes. There is something so special about a who did this to you trope. It's so like
yeah, or like I love when like I love like a hidden wound.
oh yeah.
Where it's like she doesn't want anyone
to
to
know
know
she's
about it
hurt,
and then he
and,
finds out about it
and
and
he's
it's
like, oh my god. And it like sometimes it causes like some tension and it's just like
oh it's like one of those like tension breaking moments that's like so satisfying.
And it's so satisfying and it's so like it really pushes any sort of plot or
Yes.
anything forward. It's so nice.
A next one for me is Fated Mates.
Oh, I didn't know we were jumping into this.
Sorry,
so soon.
I don't know.
I'm so excited.
I
love this one.
A soulmate. I love This Is Meant to Be. I love Against All Odds. Like we will make it through. Like we are made for each other. Like the stars align and the universe is aligned. And I love and adore everything about you. And I'm obsessed with you. Like
yes.
oh my gosh.
Oh, I think
love a Fated
for
Mates.
me, what I just truly love about a fated mates is just I am your equal in every way. We are equals, and we like. There can be sometimes, but
I think that is very prominent in ACOTAR, but I don't find that I see that a lot in typical like fated mates situations.
I don't think so. Well,
unless it's just a Sarah J. Maas thing.
I think it's a Sarah J. Maas thing, but I also think it's like a typical fated mates. I would say sometimes.
Okay.
I think it depends. I want to say like I've definitely read other things with fated mates where it is the same kind of vibe, but I think
this is a spoiler. But like this is a spoiler for Shadow and Bone. Like Mal and Alina, like they were aligned and like they're not equals like on any like in my mind. Like he doesn't treat her like an equal like I don't know. I think that's my example of it.
I think in ACOTAR it's like more communicated. That they are equals. Yes. Like they say that to each other. They are equals. But there's just something so special about somebody or something that is like made for you.
Yeah.
Because I like the Greek like mythology of like Zeus created humans with 4 arms and 4 legs and like blah 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 and like ripped apart.
Yeah.
And you have to spend your whole life looking for the other half. I love that. Do I agree with it? Maybe not. But I love that in a book. Like I love fated mates, and I love
when we don't know about it until it happens. Like
I love when
a slow burn.
A slow burn. If a fated mates with a slow burn.
Yes, that's all I need in my life. That's curing me.
Yeah. Like for me, I just love it. I just love a fated mates, and I think when I can like pick up on little things, I'm like, oh, and I put the pieces together, and then I'm right, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like in my mind like opens up. I'm like, I like go crazy. It's I love fated mates. You want me to do it?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay, well this is another one I love. I don't have a name for it. But you were talking about this one. Yeah, I don't have a name for it. But I'm just gonna call it His Friends Explain Him. Let me set the scene. Okay. This ideally works if she's like taken or kidnapped. Once again, the rules in fantasy don't apply. Okay. Ideally works if she is taken or kidnapped and brought to his quarters, his palace, his tent. I don't care.
Not the tent.
His place of residence. If you know, you know. That was crazy. But his place of residence, and he has to leave. But
he's gone.
He has to, once again, he has to go. And he leaves her like in the care of his friends, his royal guard, his right-hand man, his blah blah blah. Somebody who is close to him. And they like kind of like explain him to her. They don't know, like this ideally works when they don't know each other very well. They don't know a lot about each other, but it also is like beautiful cherry on top if he gives her something to like wear, and she like goes and like meets his friends or has to go and do something, and they're like, oh, like I can't believe he gave you that, or I can't believe like he let you wear that or let you have that. Like it can be an item. It doesn't necessarily have to be a piece of clothing. It can be like a dagger or a book or like whatever. But that to me is like, or this is even better if they're explaining something that happened like a long time ago, like from his childhood, or like
some like emotional thing that like he clearly like can't communicate that.
Yeah, and like they explain it to him, but like they're like, oh, like I've never seen him like this with you, or like, oh, I eat it up. I eat that up.
That happened to me in real life.
It did?
Yeah, when Christian and I started dating, like our like mutual friends that were more like his friends would be like come to me like, I've never seen him like that.
If that happened to me in real life, I think I'd lose my mind.
I lost my
mind. I would lose it. You thought I was bad now? Oh. Oh no, I lost one.
Oh,
I'm so excited. I keep moving shit. There's just so like it's such a great trope. The book I noticed it the most with, or when I noticed I loved it, was what was it called? A Light in the Flame or something. It's the prequel series, A Shadow in the Ember, to From Blood and Ash.
Oh.
But it happens in From Blood and Ash as well. It also kind of happens in A Court of Mist and Fury, in case you need like a book rack with this, or like an example. But it is just like so. Everything about it to me is like perfect.
Yeah.
I need every book to have that, actually. Thanks.
All right. I have. This isn't one of Anna's favorites, but it's something that I love. I love A Friends to Lovers. I love, especially like if it's like a childhood friend and it's like someone that like the main character has like known their whole lives, and it was kind of like, oh, they loved you like this whole time and you had no idea because you guys just like pretended that you were friends. One, I think it's realistic. And I think that's why like it sticks out to me, because I'm like, oh, I could like live this.
Yeah.
Well, I did. But also like, I don't know, there's just something like so special about like someone who knows you so much and like loves you, but like doesn't let you know until they do. I don't know, I love it.
I like it, but I think the reason I don't like it is because it feels real.
Oh, interesting.
I think I'm just bitter. I think I'm just bitter, really. I think that's what it is. I don't think it has anything to do, because I've read books with it and I've been fine with it.
I love
But
it.
I don't like look for books that have that, if that makes sense. Like if I see that in like a list of tropes, I'm honestly kind of turned off. But I'm
sorry, that like everyone just saw me rethink our friendship right there. So sorry.
I think I just don't like it as much. I just think I don't know. It's like
definitely
not
like lower on my list, but it's on my list.
It's not some. But like I said, I don't mind it. I think where I like it is like TV. I like it if it's in like TV and like movies, because then you can like see the tension and it's like more prevalent. It works. Friends to Lovers in books works better if you get both sides of the story. If you're only getting one, it's not as fun, because you don't get to see them.
Yeah, because then you just feel as crazy as the main character does.
Yeah, you just feel as nuts as like she does. Like you just feel crazy. I love a dual point of view. I think that's just like, oh, I just love it.
Yeah. I need to know what he's thinking. Yes. I need to know.
I want his perspective so bad.
Like, I hate to say it, but I crave male validation. I live for male validation, and that's what dual point of view does for me.
Yeah.
Like, please and thank you.
Totally.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
I think so.
The only one we have left, or you might have a different one. Do you only have one left? Let's see.
I only have one left.
Okay.
Nope, I have two left.
Okay, I think one of ours is definitely the same.
Yeah.
So say the one that's yours that is different.
Oh. Hold on. Only one bed. When there is an only, it just works so well. If you don't know what this is,
I love it when there's like, well, we also love forced proximity, but like I love when there's like a situation, like obviously like consenting, but there's like a situation that like there's no way out and you just,
they must be together.
Yeah, they
must. I just love an only one bed. I think I like the tension it brings. I love tension in books. I love it.
Like romantic tension.
Yeah.
A lot of our tropes are about romantic.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I only thought of them in romance, but I can come up with several for like non-romance. Like
that's
off
why
the top
I had
of
like
my head.
found family.
I can come up with a few off the top of my head, I think, but
I don't know if this counts as a trope, but I love like a love confession.
Like that counts as a trope.
Like a big like confessional of like, I've loved you forever.
I'm a sucker for just big battle scenes.
Yes.
Like big
I am a sucker
scenes.
for like war strategy. Like put me in the war room,
I want to
lay out the maps.
I want to play with all the pieces on the map.
I know. I like
bad.
literally know what I'm doing by this point.
Yeah. No, I tell this to my friends all the time.
Me and you could win a war right now,
Yeah.
and we'd look.
Yeah.
We'd be princesses and look incredible.
Not Modern Warfare. I need swords.
No,
I need weaponry.
Yes,
I need like I need. That's what I mean. Like I need like weaponry. I need a sword. I need a bow and arrow. I need a crossbow. I need a dagger. Like I don't. None of that. None of the guns and the tanks and no. War. like horseback.
Dirty hands
war. Like you're like battling it out. Like that's I love that. I don't know how I got here. From only one bed.
And too, like the other day, I don't know who said it to us, but we were talking about like strategizing for like something, and someone like brought it. I think it might have been Christian. He was like, the two of you, like your books. I know that you guys could come up with a strategy. Like the books that I know you read, like you guys could do it. I was like,
we totally could. I think like
it's like a fake war.
I think we just like as people we need to start playing Dungeons and Dragons. I think that's the next logical step.
It's just
there.
so complicated, I think. I don't even know anything about that realm.
I feel like it can't be that complicated.
Next year. After the beep, Dungeons and Dragons. That's our next
I feel like, how
season.
hard can it be?
You have to, like, create, like, whole stories.
You're a writer.
Okay.
Hey, Tralee, you're a writer.
Okay.
I'll create the world, you know, like.
And I'll write them. Okay. We would have fun.
Grab the little hands in there.
We would have so much fun.
That's just like another trope that's non-romance off the top of my head. I love like war strategy, like big battles. I love training scenes. Any sort of training scene, I'm a sucker for.
I love like there's a chosen one trope of like there's one inconspicuous gal.
Yeah.
And she's
I love
one.
First thing that came to my head was Six of Crows, but I love heists.
Yes. I love like there's this one. You've never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, have you?
No.
Oh, there's this one episode where like they are like strategizing and like coming up with like this plan to infiltrate like another kingdom, and I'm like,
yes, I love planning scenes. Like I love that. Or no, that's it.
I'm great.
It's late. I'm tired. Anyways, the last one we have. Enemies to lovers. You already know. You already love her. Like you already know what it is. I feel like all of our other tropes were like leading to this point. Like
this is the maximum trope.
This is
my Roman Empire.
Enemies to lovers tropes are my Roman Empire.
There's just like
it's something so.
Here's the psychology.
Like I can't even.
It.
Oh God.
Sorry.
Oh no.
It's like it plays with the idea of like someone seeing the worst in you, someone like having the bare minimum thoughts of you, someone like just like not liking you and still finding a way to love you, like someone who like sees all of your flaws and like hates your guts and like still comes out loving you at the other side of it, and like that's what enemies to lovers is.
Yes.
It's the idea of like being seen, because like when you hate, like I know like when you love someone like you see that person, but when you hate someone you see that person,
you know, like
and that's like the difference of like enemies to lovers. Like
I love enemies to lovers. It's just so beautiful, and watching it progress over it's even better
because like
several
with
books.
Enemies to lovers, like slow burn is built in, proximity is built in, like
there's a lot of tropes like built in with enemies to lovers. Like it's kind of like if you didn't have those other ones it wouldn't be enemies to lovers. So it's just beautiful. It really is.
It's my favorite. I will never get over it, like ever in my whole life.
And that's one of my tropes where like if it's in like a list of things like this book has these tropes, I'm like I bought it in the cart actually, on its way. Amazon's about to deliver it.
We also have
tropes we loathe,
we hate,
tropes I cannot stand. That being said, some of the books I've read have these in them.
It didn't. Some of them,
small doses. Really.
I think some of them can ruin a book for me.
Yeah.
And some of them like is like, oh, this was annoying.
Yeah, it's not. It's like some of the like they're for all of mine really aren't make or break. It's more of just
I
like
have
if
one.
it's there, I just don't really like it. But
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna. I don't know. If there's like a trope I really hate, I won't read the book.
Yeah.
Like, if I get to a
I
point in a
think that
book where I'm like, I hate this, I won't read it.
I think that I just go into a lot of books blind. And I
Yeah, I
will
do
like
too.
know nothing about it until I'm like reading it and in it.
Yeah,
You know.
but I mean, like, no, like I'll stop a book midway.
Oh, yeah, I'm like that too.
Yeah, I have
That's
no
why
fear.
it took me so long to finish Rune and Rising.
Oh, fair.
Because my number one on this list is miscommunication slash misunderstanding.
Oh,
First of all,
I think in that one, it's like the most frustrating too.
it's like insufferable.
Yeah.
And so with Shadow and Bone, I had watched the TV show without knowing that it was a book. And so in the TV show, like this is a spoiler, but like Mal and Alina, the main like love interest and the main character, they have like a very different relationship than they do in the book.
Yeah.
And when I read the book, I was like so angry.
Yeah. It's just like way.
I
Honestly, the
think
book is like in that terms, like I don't like it as much.
Yeah.
Like their relationship in the book.
This might be mean, but like I think that it's like a lazy writing tool. Like
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these tropes are like a little bit
it's like an
lazy
out.
and it's just like something to like throw in there to like cause some contrast and just cause some like anger or fighting to like switch plots. Like I don't know. I just think there's like different ways to like create like problems in relationships and dynamics without them being these things. Another one that we hate is the pregnancy trope. Unless
Once again, not make or break for me, but it's just like if it's there, okay.
Yeah.
Like I'll read through it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read through it, but I'm not thrilled.
Yeah. I think for me, it's a difference between like, is this something that this character like, if it's a part of the plot,
Yes.
I'm okay with it. But if it's something just like thrown that feels like thrown in there like last minute, I'm not about it. Like, I don't like, especially find that in endings and like in epilogues.
Oh,
like I feel like
epilogues
sometimes
is the worst.
And of course, like certain characters, it makes so much sense for there to be like a pregnancy in the epilogue, and like it feels right and it resonates with the characters. But sometimes it's like I feel like authors just put it in there to make the reader feel like it's a happy ending, when in reality, like a pregnancy for a lot of people don't mean happy endings.
No.
And like I don't know, I just disagree
I think
with that.
What I hate most about the pregnancy trope is if it's not in an epilogue, what the character becomes after that.
Yeah.
Not only like sometimes it's not even like by the author, but by like people who read the book. It's like, oh, like you can't view her as strong anymore. You can't view her as powerful anymore. You can't. And I'm like,
it becomes
that
about like
is what really
it takes
like,
the character away from being the character and it turns the character into a mother,
mom.
Which like again,
Fine.
unless that's like a part of the plot, and unless that's like it
And
makes sense with the character and the storyline, like okay, but like
I just hate the idea, especially with an epilogue. I hate the idea that the only happy ending like a woman can have is like ultimately to have kids.
Yeah.
Because that is like simply not true in any way, shape, or form. And that is like, I think that's where it kills me the most.
And that also leads to this one.
Our next one.
Like when a character who's like has power, especially in fantasy, who like has powerful is like the chosen one, and they like get their powers taken away by like whatever means, without them wanting to give their powers up, like if it's not mentioned before.
When it's like and I say this when I mean like blind, I mean like blind sacrifice. If it's something they know is coming or something they've wished was coming, I don't have a problem with it. But I've literally only ever seen it happen with female characters.
I agree.
And that's like, I think, A, what kills me, and B, when it happens like just out of the blue.
Yeah, like again, like in an epilogue, like why
don't do that. Maybe I don't.
I just don't understand it. Like why can't she? be like at peace and at happiness with her life and like have her happy ending and also still have these powers that got
Yeah.
her there.
But if it's like, if it made her miserable, if it was awful,
Yeah.
if it was like, just like not something she wanted at
Mhm.
all, by all means.
Yeah. And
Make
this
that
is
make that the character's happy ending of getting those out of there.
yeah.
But
This is another spoiler for Shadow and Bone warning, but like Alina at the end, like her powers are taken away and
Mhm.
like I'm kind of on the fence with that one because like she is so miserable
Mhm.
throughout like the entire series.
Yeah.
She's miserable.
With
She
characters like that, it's like, okay,
but
maybe.
like towards the end I feel like she kind of was like changing
Yeah.
and she felt like at home with her powers and she
Yeah.
felt strong and incredible. So like that one's like up in the air for me.
Yeah.
But like
I think most of it I've seen happen.
Mhm.
It's up in the air, but like as a general, I think I just don't really like that, and I think in most cases it's like avoidable.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
agree.
in most cases, like I'm like,
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there could have been a way around that,
Mhm.
and there wasn't. But sometimes I'm like,
agree.
oh, maybe that needed to happen.
Mhm.
Maybe it was for the greater good that that those are gone.
Another one that we have is age gaps. And definitely
Listen.
for fantasy it's so different because
Yeah.
especially if it's like a different being where
It's different.
and
And the
like if
rules
they
don't
like
apply.
if they are looking the same age and they are presenting as the same maturity as the character, like if they're like a fairy who's like 1,000 years old and like the main character is 17, but like they're
Yeah.
presenting as someone who like is of the same maturity and
Yeah,
like
and,
there's
like-
no power dynamic, like cool.
Yeah.
I get it. Fantasy is the rules are different.
Yeah.
Like when there's like a blatant age gap,
Yep,
like
and
it
like
just feels
just
icky.
like a romance book, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
Yeet, yikes,
Yeah.
out of there.
Gross.
Like, nope, I'm gone. Actually, quicker than
I
anything
agree.
ever. I've stopped reading books because of it.
Mhm.
I was like, actually, I
It
hate
just
everything
makes
about
me
this.
feel
Shut the
like
book and walk away.
icky and yucky, and I don't
I don't
enjoy,
like it.
I can never like revisit it or see it in a different way than it is.
Yeah.
And that's another thing for like again Shadow and Bone warning. Sorry
Yeah.
guys. But like
It's just a good example.
so many people I guess
God.
this is another hated trope of mine where like I don't know if it's like a trope or if like it's just like a thing that I don't like that the communities do where like they will ship female characters with like the villain, but not like a morally gray villain,
like
not
a
like a villain with like a
villain.
character arc, like
Yeah.
a villain. And I like just dislike villains. I appreciate them as a writer and I appreciate like
Yeah.
a strong written villain, but like as a person and as someone who's reading, I just like don't like villains. I'm never like a villain supporter. So like the fandom for Shadow and Bone, like there's like hardcore people who like ship Alina, who's like 16, 17 maybe in the books, with
Yeah.
like the Darkling, who's like I know he like I know
like
he's like
hundreds
he's
of
like
years
hundreds years old,
old,
but
but
he
he's still
presents
human.
Yes, but he also presents in the books as someone who's much older than her and
Yeah.
acts much older than her.
And there's like a clear power dynamic
Yes.
there that I
Yeah.
think like, and he uses like magic to get around the whole like aging
Yeah.
thing, and he's like faked his deaths, like that's
Yeah.
another whole part of it. But I think him like faking his deaths is what really like
Yes.
I'm like, oh ew,
Yeah.
like that's so
And
weird.
if like he's also like the teacher and like
Oh
like,
yeah, it's like there's a whole other like list of things at play there that I think it like
makes it
ultimately
so
is like
yucky. And I saw it from a mile away and I knew that he was a bad guy. I knew
didn't.
it. I
didn't.
I knew it.
I was so upset. I
so,
was
like-
devastated.
See, I just like I don't know. I just don't. I kind of like
I
pick up
think-
on when they're bad.
I think I just like, well, it's your gift. I think I just like, not necessarily a villain. I like morally gray.
I agree. I like.
I
Molly
don't
Gray.
like, or I love the best example I have of this is like Red Queen. I was brought up like this. Teach me what I really should know. Sort of like opening, like in his, like, I'll explain it to you. Like he's like
Okay.
a royal.
Okay.
And like he's been brought up to think of like this way, and like in the book it's like red bloods versus silver bloods, and like
Yeah,
the silver
I started
is
reading
elite.
that, but I
Yeah.
haven't finished it.
But like they're brought like this is
Mhm.
like I was brought up to like hate you and like I never knew like it was very like he's morally gray in the sense of like I just didn't know.
Yeah.
It was like
Okay.
ignorance is
Then I'm
bliss
on
kind of
board
thing.
with that.
Like I'm on board with like that kind of thing or like race. He's
Mhm.
morally gray. He's
Yes,
got
he is.
but like people who ship Nesta with Eris, I'm out.
No.
I'm
No. Or people
out.
who like will enjoy Tamlin after everything. It's like, who are
Oh
like,
my
are
God.
you psychologically okay?
I just saw a girl who has only read the first book and got a Tamlin tattoo.
I saw that. She's
She's scarred. Like you can't undo that.
no, she can't.
She's gonna have to get it like covered up with like shadows or something. Like I don't know.
That poor girl.
I think yeah. And okay, side note, if you haven't read ACOTAR, you can come back now. I just like I think the whole like culture around hyping up like ACOTAR is huge.
Mhm.
You know, like that is like way beyond, you know, anything. But I think like I don't know, it's nice when books like kind of stay small.
Mhm.
And I feel like with that kind like people are I know like those comments right now are going to be like crazy cuz she got that tattoo and like she doesn't even know what's coming. Um but like I feel like she got it just because like she started ACOTAR and like she knew it
Mhm.
was going to like change her life or whatever.
Yeah.
Which yeah, it will, but like I don't know. I think
Finish.
it's like a yeah,
Keep reading.
keep going kind of thing.
Like
It's
I
like
feel
not
like I couldn't get a book tattoo unless I know that the series is completely finished.
mm,
Cuz you never know.
I think
Authors,
yeah.
they're crazy.
They're
You
crazy.
can't trust them.
You can't trust them.
Well, guys,
Um,
we know that this has
it's
been
been
a doozy of an episode. Obviously, you can
Thanks
tell.
for sticking around if you're
Yeah.
still here.
Obviously, you can tell how much like all of this means to me and Anna,
Yeah.
and obviously like, our friendship as well, and like our friendship with other people. But yeah, this like episode is really important. So if you enjoyed it, please like,
comment,
please comment,
subscribe,
give
all
us
of
book
the above.
recommendations.
Yeah,
like,
give me book recommendations. Take the quizzes. Let me know what you got.
Yeah.
Please.
Like always, we will see you not next
Tuesday,
but
the Tuesday after that.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.